and was kind of making connections. So we figured, I can figure there would be a point to where some of the original canon cast would know how to speak German, just not very
they
fluently.
don't remember it very well.
Yeah, but one does tend to remember a good portion of it enough to where he can have a conversation with people.
The Eve punks remember a few words of German and a few words of French, and the reason why is because of the fact that Eve had actually studied abroad for a bit in France when she was younger, and she lived in Germany, obviously, but she was British. Now, the Eaton's crew speak English and German, and that's because of the fact that they were in the military, and it was actually apparently part of their required courses at the academy, right? Hey, I'm not saying anything. You said they run an Air Force base. That doesn't mean that
they run an Air Force base, yes. So, yeah, they do know. They actually know the required one was obviously German, because in World War III you were kind of going against the Germans, and it was helping for interpreting specifically.
I mean, living on an Air Force base, obviously.
Yeah, specifically, yeah. But I mean, like, I know Dabney does know French as well. She does know French. I actually had Vic and Crawford both know another language aside from German, but I can't remember what I was going to have it as. I think it also was French. I'm not really sure. But we kind of had that as well. So they do know a couple of languages. So these guys, Eaton's crew, was kind of where the Franz punks are kind of comfortable because they can speak their language with somebody else.
Kind of comfortable. Let's see. With Liesel, as far as her other interactions, she hasn't really hung out a lot with the. She's mainly hung around Klaus because Klaus kind of needs help since the incident with being stuck in a box all this time. But as far as characters that she would get along with, have we had a chance to really flesh it out? We just haven't had a chance to yet. I would say she would probably get along with 2 really well.
Yeah.
She probably wouldn't even get along with 5 and 9 because of the way that they are.
She kind of has the same relationship with 8 in terms of, Klaus working with 8 sometimes. But 8's kind of become of a resource because of what he does now in RagNBone. So he's kind of a resource, especially to the clockmakers, with the particular type of things that they need.
Yeah.
So he definitely comes into play with the Franz punks.
Wagner
and 8 have a marvelous relationship.
Now, Wagner and 8 have kind of actually deemed each other kind of brothers. And the reason why is because when Wagner first meets 8, he kind of reminds him of Isaac, which is one of Wagner's brothers. Now, Isaac
things happen. Isaac turns into a villain.
Yeah, Isaac basically converted into a villain slowly over time, but he did try to do something really terrible, and Wagner attempted to stop him at some point, and basically Wagner does know that Isaac was a villain. And so at first, when he first meets 8, he is a little bit wary, but the more time he spends around 8, he realizes this isn't like Isaac, so...
and 8 lets him work when he... Yeah. 8 has this thing. They kind of had this little therapy thing of sorts. It's really funny because 8 has these resources, and one of them is that he has geodes. And Wagner's job was, he's a jeweler, so he's a jewel crafter.
Wagner was the jeweler. Basically, if you've ever seen old-style clocks, you'll notice the really ornate ones have a lot of inset semi-precious stones.
Yeah.
Or they have actual precious stones set to the face, things like that. And also, if you know anything about clocks, which you may or may not, I don't know, one particular feature for...
hanging there.
Here.
Oh, word.
Try that.
Yay!
One of the particular features about clocks and pocket watches especially is that they will
the crystal
when putting clocks together, there are gems used on the interior. A particular type of ruby is used to inset between the plates. I know I can explain this better. I just can't.
Yeah, we've watched an entire thing on how to make clocks.
There are these little rubies that are inset into it because they realize that ruby pegs do not. They take vibration better than an actual metal peg would. And basically they don't wear down as easily. So basically it helps the pocket watch last longer and stay in shape for longer. So his job was handling everything to do with gems with the clocks.
Yes, and so he's very much a jewel crafter.
Basically, Wagner, I can't remember how he first ended up around 8 in the first place. I think he took refuge there, actually.
Yeah, he was.
Because he got into that like mini fight with Ben and stuff, and everybody was kind of kind of terrifying to a certain extent because
so he just kind of
a whole new world here.
What happened was he just kind of
retreated back to some place that was quiet.
And didn't really realize 8 was there because 8 had the basket.
Yeah.
So finally he realizes, okay, 8's around here, so they introduce themselves and whatever. But 8 has this kind of therapeutic thing that he does where he gets a geode. And whenever Wagner is feeling down, or he's stressed out, or he's ranting, even, or he's uptight, 8 won't say anything.
He'll just pass him a
geode and a gem, and then Wagner just kind of gets the clue and just kind of goes to work on it, and it just works, and he calms down, and he's fine later.
Yeah.
So 8 becomes the one that Wagner kind of goes to rant to. And so it's really amusing, and I think
it helps that what 8 does, what 8 is doing in the comic, as far as this talent that he has, is right. It was what Isaac was doing. It was his job in the clock shop. So there's a lot of similarities in things that they do between Isaac and 8 that to a certain degree makes Wagner comfortable, but he also knows that he's not like Isaac.
Yeah, exactly.
He's basically missing the giant portion of Isaac's attitude that was, I'm a fucking crazy person that's going to kill people.
Yeah, so and in a way, 8, I kind of think 8 thinks of Wagner kind of in a similar way to 1, because I can imagine 1 would rant to 8 so much. So I imagine he takes the same approach with Wagner that he would with 1.
Let him talk.
Let him talk and get it out. Exactly.
With other members of the original crew and Wagner, he hasn't really interacted with a lot. Pretty much he's stuck with 8. The Franz punks are very much kind of to keep themselves or quiet. Except for some of them. There's a couple of them that are more outgoing. But due to the circumstances of their upbringing and the way that things have happened in their life, they've been through a lot, and they're still trying to cope with this. Whereas the other characters have been through a lot, but a lot of those issues have been handled and dealt with. The Franz punks really have not had
been solved.
They haven't had a chance to really open up and fix all of their problems. They still have a lot of issues that are unresolved right now, as the state that things are in the RP right now.
Yeah.
Now let's see. Along with Wagner's little relationship with 8 and stuff, you also have I had somewhere I was going with this. It wasn't just Wagner and 8. There was another character that was involved in this.
A canon character?
Yeah, I can't remember.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Any sparking anything?
No, I'm trying to think of where I was going.
Oh, Wagner and 1 kind of have a relationship.
Yeah, because Wagner
incidents. Yeah.
That's why I was going. Thank you. Actually, that carries over to the next character. Isaac is no longer around, but there is an instant in which he reappears in
the comic. There is a very big event that goes down.
It is a huge event that goes down.
This is the event, pretty much, I guess we can make it blunt, because I've been stating it in nearly every single one of these. But pretty much,
there is an event that leads up to 1 being crucified.
Yes, and this was the.
I officially apologize to anybody out there listening that is religious.
Yeah, and there's a definite reason. Don't worry.
Okay, I'm going to promise we have nothing against religious people. We have nothing against religious things.
No. We're very religious. Well, I'm very religious.
You're very.
I'm Buddhist. I collect Bibles.
I'm agnostic, so I don't really think I don't know.
She just doesn't know.
And but I am interested in religion. I am interested in the beliefs people hold.
So
but the Franz punks are really, they stem a lot from things I experienced when I was younger with people that are very religious.
And I've had the same experience, similar experiences.
I have had people in my family that take religion to a point of extremism, and I think Isaac is the culmination of all the hatred I have for these people.
Yeah, now Isaac, but pretty much what happens is this is also the event that we actually, in the roleplay, was the very first one that we delicately planned out.
We knew we wanted it to happen. We just didn't know how we wanted it to happen. And
or how it could happen.
We tried to plan it out, and it was like pulling teeth to get it to work. It came out nice.
It came out nice.
It was
very, very hard.
It was very hard.
This was actually her first time playing a very a big villain.
A villain.
And I was normally the one who was more accustomed with that. So she was having a really hard time.
I can do it now. I don't really have a problem. Yeah. The problem with Isaac also is that he does biblical quotes a lot. And even though I was Jehovah's Witness as a kid, and I used to be able to quote the Bible to you when I was a kid. And even though all this, I've studied this sort of thing. If finding the quotes that would work for Isaac the best
perfectly.
Were very difficult. It took me a while.
And we had to go through all these Bible sites. We had to find some sort of Bible database where we could go through all the Bibles.
Or Bible skeptic sites that had all the quotes.
That had the quotes, exactly. Because that's how hard it was. And so pretty much what happens is one winds up crucified. So one goes into this severe down spiral of an emotional breakdown after these events. And if Isaac is just one of those images you don't ever want to see in your head again.
But Wagner feels a lot of... Wagner, I've stated this before. I love Wagner's guilt. And
he has a lot of guilt, especially after this happens.
Yeah, especially because there are reasons for it. You'll see why when it occurs in the comic, but he has a massive amount of guilt about the situation that occurs. And there's like a little thing that occurs between Wagner and one.
Because Wagner feels to them. Yeah, he feels like he needs to apologize, even though one wasn't looking for one.
And even though Wagner wasn't really directly involved, he still feels the need to apologize because it was part of his family that instigated this. And so that's how the Franzmans are. They apologize for each other because even if the person meant to do it, even if the person, it's one of those things where my family has hurt your family and I can't allow that to happen. It's kind of his attitude.
And even though one wasn't looking for an apology or anything, he just didn't want anybody to repeat about it or anything like that.
And Isaac's interactions, he really wasn't on the table very long. We're going to change that in the comic.
Yeah, we do want to have him on the table a little bit longer.
To be honest, we were just trying to get through this portion as quickly as possible because it got to be such a hard as hell to do.
Yeah, so, but we plan to have him a little bit longer scene, but in the end, it's going to still be the same ending. Yeah. One does wind up getting crucified, and with very explicit reasons.
Yeah, but you'll understand. It'll make more sense. I know this sounds really bizarre when you're hearing it. Like one is on a cross. What?
Where's the cross coming from?
It'll make more sense when you actually see it in the comic and the way that everything falls together. And this will probably give you more foreshadowing if you start reading the comic and we start getting into places where things are introduced ahead of time. You're going to be going, oh God, no.
So anyway.
For other characters, Isaac doesn't really interact with anybody else, I don't think.
8 in particular, there is an incident where Isaac does meet 8. Because Wagner does, at this point in time, does hang out with 8. 8 is extremely protective of Wagner, and it's really odd to Wagner because they kind of just recently met. It's not one of those, okay, we've known each other for a couple months now or anything like that.
Wagner also he really does not feel that he deserves anything that he gets.
Any protection, exactly.
It's really, he really doesn't think he deserves anything. I mean, he
humble. Guilts over Dabney, he guilts over 8, he guilts over 1, he guilts over this, guilt.
Guilt, angst, and humbleness are really the main things that make him up.
Yeah, so I mean, 8 is extremely, the minute Isaac hits the table, 8 already has a sword drawn out, and he is just ridiculously protective of Wagner.
Yeah,
and
will not let Wagner out of his sight.
Yeah, and Wagner he's thankful for it, definitely. But he doesn't feel like he deserves it, and he's very kind of shocked by it. Because he doesn't expect somebody who's not even a part of his family, barely even knows him, who is kind of going all out like this. So it kind of strengthens 8 and Wagner's relationship.
That's where the kind of the brother bond comes in.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's see. Isaac doesn't really interact with a lot of people on the table, and we plan to change that. And when we do change that, there will definitely be some scuffles because Isaac is the kind of religious person that gives religious people bad names. He is very much a zealot. He is very much outspoken about it. Now, in the beginning he's not going to be so much, and you will see that change. So we're going to see how that works out in the comic when we start doing rewrites for that portion of it. But I have some ideas. I have some major ideas that I want to throw in. One was actually written up as a little mini thing that we did, and then we never actually used it, involving Twain, Vic, and Isaac.
Oh, God.
That was very violent.
Oh, yeah. Vic. Oh, Jesus. Vic is another one of those very defensive types.
And, let's see.